All right, listen. You got a few minutes for a Dwyane Wade story about the time I interviewed D Wade, got some information out of him, and now years later I'm wondering whether or not this man lied to me. All right, here's the story. So it starts back when this happened. That's July of 2010, and of course you know what time it is. Anytime you see LeBron in that burgundy and white checkered ensemble, you know that's the decision of him saying he's going to Miami. And I don't care how old you are or where you're from or what your interests are, you have to acknowledge that this LeBron decision was probably, it has to be a top 5 sports moment in your lifetime. And I don't care who you are, it's got to be. So that was a big deal. This is July of 2010. So now fast forward a few months to September of 2010. I was doing some on-camera work for the Hoop Doctors, and Gatorade called me up and flew me out to Chicago because there was an event that they were having Dwyane Wade attend, and I had the opportunity to interview D Wade. Dwyane Wade was out there. I think Dwight Howard, Carlos Boozer was there as well. I'm just dropping names now, to be honest with you. A bunch of guys were out there, but the big story was that the fact that Dwyane Wade was going to be out there. So they flew me out and my man from darkwingproductions.net because he would film and edit the interview, right? So we get to Chicago, and again, this is September, right, of 2010. LeBron's decision was just 2 months prior. So we're in Chicago for this event. And before the event starts, we get time to interview these players I just mentioned. But the big story, of course, like I said, is Dwyane Wade because the decision just happened, right? So a lot of people want to talk to him. So there's like a line getting in there. And so, you know, we're in line. And we got all the questions ready to talk to him. And then the people from Gatorade come out like right before we're about to go talk to him. And they tell me 2 things. They tell me, number one, all right, this whole interview thing is taking longer than it planned, than we thought. So we're gonna have to ask you to share your interview time with the guy next to you. And the guy next to me who happened to be from Slam Magazine. So now I'm like, how are we gonna do this? Because we're doing stuff, like we're trying to do the interview on camera, video. Whereas most people had just a video recorder. So I'm like, all right, you know, we'll figure it out. And then the second thing they asked me is, okay, listen, don't ask any LeBron questions, all right? He's not taking any LeBron questions. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, how are you gonna invite me to speak to Dwyane Wade 2 months after the decision and you expect me not to ask any questions about LeBron and the decision? Right? That's crazy, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, fine. No LeBron questions, no problem. So we get there now and we set up, and again, my man from darkwingproductions.net, he frames us up and all this stuff, and we sit down, and I tried to abide by what they asked, right? I tried to abide. I started asking questions pertaining to the event. The event was called the Gatorade replay game, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I'm asking questions about the event specifically. But then I gotta transition to these LeBron questions, and I don't know if he's gonna answer them. I don't know if he's gonna bark at me or what, but he was cool about the whole thing. So in particular, this is what I want to talk about. I asked him about the time, like when he found out, how he found out that LeBron was going to Miami, because if you recall, this footage happened.
The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
All right, so right after the decision, ESPN and everybody was showing, that clip. That was supposed to be Wade's, like, raw reaction to the decision. So when I got a chance to talk to him, I asked him this question.
Lastly, there was footage of you when LeBron actually made his decision. You jumped up, you were excited. Was that genuine shock, or did you have any idea that he was going to say, I'm taking my talents to South Beach? Was that genuine surprise?
I'm not an actor. I'm not that good.
You in commercials and stuff, man. You do your thing a little bit.
All right, fair enough. The man says he's not an actor. He was not trying to act, because the cameras are on. All right, fair enough. But it goes on. There's more.
Like I told everybody else, I actually found out maybe like 15, 20 seconds before he said it. But when he said, I still was nervous. I'm like watching like everybody else. And even though I just found out like 15, 20 seconds before he said it, I still was kind of like, yes, it's done, it's over, we did it. Now let's move on. So it was an exciting moment for me.
All right, so he says he found out just like everybody else, and like that was his natural reaction. He was just as surprised as everybody else. So in the back of my mind, I'm always like, man, how could he not have known? He had to have known something. But he says no, right? That's what he told me. He said he had no idea, and he found out just like everybody else. All right, so the interview ends, and he was really cool about the whole thing. He was cool with the whole LeBron questions. He answered everything I asked him. There was more LeBron and Big Three and Chris Bosh questions, but he was cool with the whole thing. So he answered all that, no problems. So the interview wraps. We head back to the crib, and now I'm like, okay, cool. I got some exclusive, D-Wade one-on-one behind the scenes information about how it all went down. I'm like, cool. I love it. All right. So fast forward 10 years now. Fast forward to 2020, and D-Wade retires after his illustrious Hall of Fame 16-year career, and early in 2020 he drops the documentary on ESPN. Hopefully you saw it. It's called D-Wade: Life Unexpected. It was like 2 hours, and he gave you glimpses into his personal life from childhood, his children, college, everything in between, right? NBA. And I'm watching this now early in 2020, and he talks about the decision and LeBron and Chris Bosh joining him in Miami, right? So again, for 10 years, I'm like, I'm thinking, he had no idea that LeBron was coming. And so he speaks specifically about him knowing or not knowing LeBron was coming in this documentary. And take a listen to what he said. This is actually not from the documentary. This is from Rachel Nichols from ESPN interviewing him about what he said in the documentary about that specific question. Did he know LeBron was coming and how that all went down? And here's what he said. Take a listen.
You guys do focus on that time in 2010 when you, LeBron, Chris Bosh, free agents, and decided to come back to the Heat.
Yeah.
And there's a great part where you're talking about how you made this decision in a phone call on July 4th. You, Chris, and LeBron.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay, D-Wade. All right, hold on. D-Wade, listen, man. You told me you had no idea. Now I'm finding out we got these secret July 4th meetings with LeBron and Bosh. That's what we doing? Huh? That's what we doing? The whole time I'm thinking, you know what? Man, did he really not know? That's what he told me. That's what the man told me. Come to find out, we got secret July 4th meetings with Bron and Bosh. Now I'm making the joke, obviously, making light of the situation. Of course, he could speak to them beforehand. I would expect him to speak to them beforehand. But I was told 10 years ago that he had no idea. All right? So later on in that interview and in the documentary, he explains that, they did meet on July 4th, and the decision was, I think, July 7th or 8th. And in that time in between, he hit up LeBron to see where his head was at, and he couldn't reach LeBron. So he was uncertain in that time afterwards. That's cool. I'll take that. That makes sense. But secret meetings, bro? Huh? How come you didn't mention these secret meetings 10 years ago, man? So now I'm like, man, did my man D-Wade, did my man Flash lie to me all these years to my face, sitting right across? And I thought we were cool, man. I've known you for 10 years, Let me stop. But nah, for real. Why'd you lie to me though?